Okay, moving on with the action agenda. We have a motion, intent to purchase communication systems for the Discovery Academy and Administrative Services Building. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, next we have a motion, and this comes from Ms. Baldwin, to ask the state legislators to increase flexibility in our Article 4042 funds and Article 39 as revenues are projected to increase, so a portion can be spent on teaching and learning. That's a motion from Ms. Baldwin. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Baldwin?
Well, I guess I just, since I made the, have I made the motion yet?
I made it for you.
Okay, thank you.
We're at the discussion part, so.
Okay, yeah, the reason I proposed this was that we increase flexibility in these restricted funds. Right now, you know, Article 4042 is restricted to capital outlay, and then Article 39 is restricted to the construction or the and debt repayment. And we learned at the last work session last Thursday that revenues are projected to increase in the Article 39 due to changes the legislature made in sales tax laws. So, and as enrollment, again, it has dropped in Buncombe or is projected to be flat or just increase slowly over time. I felt like a portion of it being spent on teaching and learning would be much more important than you know, new school construction, since we have nearly more than 2,700 empty desks in our classrooms right now.
Anyone else have a comment? Mr. Bryant?
I would not support this motion for a couple of reasons. Number one, I would argue, and I think most people out there would probably agree with me, that every nickel that's spent on buildings, desks, computers, et cetera, goes to teaching and learning. If you don't have some of those things, you don't have any teaching and learning. If you don't have roofs over your buildings, you don't have teaching and learning. If you don't have effective HVAC systems, you're not going to have teaching and learning. If you don't have cafeteria equipment, you're not going to have, and that's probably a bad analogy because of the self-sustainment of that there. The second reason I would not support this motion is even if this board or future boards had the flexibility but refused from a front end to use that money in places other than where it's currently designated to go, my fear is that current and or future legislation from Raleigh could be directed at this system to say, we're a little short right now, and you've got something there that we think you ought to be able to take some money from that and use it in a program that we're now not going to fund. It also then, to me, passes back to the county commission, because that's where we're going to have to go. We do not have a taxing authority as this board. We can't generate money. All we can do is ask. And if we go back to the county commission to have to do some of those kind of things, I just think we have a system that works. I believe that our state constitution is pretty clear that the funding and implementation of our education system in the state is state responsibility to be supplemented by local. And I just think it's a slippery slope and the wrong road to take to adopt this motion and to ask the state legislature for this. And so I would not support this motion.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we're again pulling some of the items up from the consent agenda. First is the approval of the 2014 Enrollment and Facility Needs Report that was presented last week at our work session. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
I had a question for Mr. Fearley. Is he present?
Yeah.
First, I wanted to thank you so much for the very thorough job you did in expanding the report to include the capacity percentages or utilization rates and the modulars, and I really appreciate that. I was wondering if one of the criteria considered was the in and out migration rates in Buncombe County, people moving in and out of the county. Were those rates taken in consideration in determining future enrollment projections?
No, they weren't. Our enrollments, we don't track the individual student. We look at the big picture numbers, and that's how we've done it. And we don't look at that. No.
What about the like future construction? One of the public commenters mentioned the possibility of, I think, an exit on I-26 in the Inca Candler area. Is that something that's considered? I mean, I don't know if you go to DOT and ask them about their plans, or.
That particular example, yeah, we've known about that for years. They've approached us, questioning our input on that, so we've known it's coming. But typically, I don't put in the projections things that are speculative. If there is word that some big development is going to happen, but there's been no official application to planning and zoning or building department, that I keep it in mind, but I don't project it in any way until there's some sort of official, real action, because not everything.
Yeah, once someone has applied to create a subdivision, then that's taken.
That's a different
As you
thing.
told us last week,
Yeah.
you know, in the Robertson district, you mentioned a couple of pretty large tracts of land that are going to be
Correct.
converted, and so, you know, those are taken into account and was discussed, you know,
And many
last
times they
week.
have multiple phases,
Right.
but only one phase is permitted at this time, and I take that into account, because many times the future phases don't happen. So we keep that in mind for future, check on it the next year, and if it's really coming to fruition, then we factor that in.
And is
Board
there
members, any other
consideration?
board members have a question?
No,
Okay,
it
Ms.
was
Baldwin, go ahead.
explained last week.
I didn't know if you look at the new charters that are opening this fall and their enrollment, and I think there possibly may be one in the next year, but that hasn't gone through the final approval. But is there any consideration as how that will affect our enrollment?
No, because I can't predict what district they're coming from until they're kind of established. Charters don't draw from a specific district, even though they may be located in a particular spot. So I have no way of predicting, and I can't skew I'd be guessing, basically. It's so crystal ball. Once they're in place, now we can look at perhaps where those kids come, but that is come from very hard information to get from the charter schools at this point.
Does Buncombe County contract out for any studies? I talked to one school district, and they said every 3 years they have a company do the look at more criteria like that in and out migration rate of residents and school populations.
Ms.
Is this
Baldwin, I
something we
believe-
do on a regular basis?
I believe that would be a board decision to be made.
So we don't do that right now.
I think that you know that.
I'm just clarifying.
Okay, any other board members? Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Next, and Mr. Fairley, you may want to stick around. Next on the agenda is the approval of the implementation of the 5-year facility plan. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
This plan was also submitted, and we reviewed it last week in our work session. So do we have any questions or comments? Okay,
Yeah,
all in favor?
I'm sorry, I didn't speak up quickly enough, but I just wanted to ask why our #1 overcrowded school is North Buncombe. I'm sorry, it's Weaverville Primary at 139% capacity. with 65 students over capacity and 5 modulars. We also have North Buncombe has the top 3 overcrowded schools or unbalanced school populations are in North Buncombe. North Buncombe Middle School has 71 students over their capacity and 10 modulars. Of course, North Buncombe Elementary School has 176 students over capacity and 9 modulars. And that one is on the list for a long-term project. So I was just curious as to why some of the other schools that also are overcrowded, are not on the list, and if what the plans would be, for those schools.
As we discussed in the facilities report, there's a number of coping mechanisms that our schools use to handle higher than capacity membership. And it's my recommendation in discussion with the schools, observations, and talking with board members, district board members who are attuned to their districts, that some schools are better able to handle overcrowding than others. And because we don't have the capability of addressing every single issue immediately, we have to prioritize. And I believe this is the appropriate prioritization. That North Buncombe Elementary has this long-standing issue that they are less able to cope with than Weaverville and North Buncombe Middle School. The board did ask that question about North Buncombe Middle, and I would agree that it is a concern, middle school students and a number of modulars. So with the help of our finance department, we looked at doing a construction project at North Buncombe Middle to address that. Those are older modulars in less good shape than the ones at Weaverville that are really still in pretty good shape. So again, it's a prioritization, and between year 6 and 7 on that plan, we would comfortably be able to address that without putting ourselves in jeopardy and not having some sort of balance in this capital fund to be able to handle a roof that fails or a major failure. So it's simply a matter of prioritization.
And speaking of priorities, the Inca Middle School overcrowding is number 5 on the list, and it only has 8 students over capacity and 6 modulars. So I just find it curious, that we have the $25 million on here to build what is a short-term solution, an intermediate school there. And how was it determined that an intermediate school would be the best solution? What other alternatives were looked at? Besides, I know you talked about adding a 6th grade academy at Inca Middle School, but was there ever an option to, we talked about, I tried to make a motion to look at the K through 8 model. I don't know, was that ever looked at for the Inca district, or, redrawing attendance lines possibly, or having a magnet type school so that maybe between the Robertson and Inca districts, people on the line could choose if they wanted to go to Robertson or Inca. Since Robertson has so much more capacity, they're only at 59% capacity at Valley Springs Middle School.
Well, as you know, Ms. Baldwin, we had a work session where we discussed all of these ideas, and so you're asking questions that have already been asked before. They've been addressed. That's the purpose of a work session, is to have that opportunity to ask those questions. And so you're asking questions that are board decisions, and you know the answers to those questions.
Mr. Reinhardt, to correct you, we were handed this report when we walked in the work session. We didn't have it in advance to study, so there wasn't time to do that. the budget work session we just had last Thursday, where we were handed this
Which
facility
document was handed
report.
to you?
The facility and enrollment needs report was handed to us when we got there. The capital outlay budget was given to us in advance. But this is a straw man argument. You're trying to deflect from the fact that we have never had a full discussion on the Inca situation, and whether the real issue is not that the school, it's just, marginally overcrowded, but maybe the issue is that we don't want middle schools that have over 1,000 students. I mean, the board has never talked about their priority. Do we want to say all middle schools in Buncombe County have to be 750 students or less? That's what I'm seeing come out as the real issue here, not the fact that the 5-6 model, we need to reevaluate that. It was 12 years ago when that was started. Is it really working? I've seen no justification for it, no data to support that the 5-6 model is a best practice. In fact, most school districts have told me intermediates are short-term solutions. The real longer-term solution, has never been explored.
Okay, board members, any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Good. Moving on to the last item on the consent agenda is the approval to design and finance a new Inca Intermediate School. Do we have a motion to do so?
I move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Do we have any discussion? Even though I think we've already discussed it.
I will start unless somebody else, would like to go first.
I will if you want somebody to go in a
Go
different
ahead.
order. Mr. Fairley, can you, or Ms. Frisbee, because, she was copied on the memo, just help, I think I understand it, but help me to understand, and maybe the public to understand, the difference between the fast-track design, site work, and construction to meet the schedule that we're talking about versus the design, build, and build delivery, and your experience between the two, and pros and or cons as you see it. Obviously, I would guess there's not cons, at least not that you're worried about, or you wouldn't have made this recommendation, but can you discuss those two differences?
Well, nothing's a perfect system, so, folks are put in an adversarial position in many ways when you construct a building. Folks are obviously business people and out to make money and as much as they can on a construction project, and the design, bid, build process that we've used is the traditional delivery method that, in my opinion, creates an adversarial atmosphere on the construction project. You get the low bidder. He's the guy that usually forgot the most to put in the bid. So he's already losing what he considers to be a profit due to him and doing us a favor by building this building at such a low price. So a lot of effort in the design, bid, build process goes into the contractor is looking for ways to extract more money, do things cheaper, quicker, and therefore it takes a design team and a facilities director a lot of effort. You really need to be there all the time, and it's just not possible. I'm not saying that there are not good contractors. We've had very good contractors, fortunately, here in Western North Carolina, but we are getting, because of the economy and the nature of the business, a lot more out of town, out of state, multi-state contracting companies that see us as a one-shot deal, whereas a local contractor, he's got kids in the system. He has peer pressure. So I think things have changed in that regard, and the construction manager at-risk system allows you, the board, to choose your general contractor they kind of get a guaranteed profit, and we get to use their expertise to get the building to be where we want it to be in terms of quality and cost. Now, on bid day, the design, bid, build process will be a lower price. It's that guy that forgot this, that, or the other thing. He's just taken whatever subs gave him the lowest price, and they've forgotten things. But really, that's the lowest price you'll ever get for that project. The construction manager process, the subcontracts are bid, and we get to see them. It's an open book process. And that's really the highest price that you're going to get for that project, because there will be a project contingency that typically that construction manager, if he is able to bring the project in, will get to share in that contingency. So he's got a motivation to deliver this project at a lower price than what the contract price is. So it's not without its flaws. You do a lot of more work up front, but I believe in our situation here, if we want to open a school in 2016, that there's a much better chance, not a guarantee, that the project will be done on time and within budget. And that's why I'm recommending that we explore this process and use this process.
Kind of piggybacking on that, I believe the county has done several projects.
That's all they do, really, for their larger projects. And the 2 city schools that are being built are being done the same way.
Okay.
Dean is very familiar with a lot of school systems are using it. You know, until this kind of change in this wave of out-of-town contractors, I would say let's continue. But I think we're going to get the same thing, a lot of kind of out-of-town, out-of-state contractors that use and abuse our subcontractors, our local subcontractors.
Okay.
Thank you for the explanation. Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Baldwin?
Thank you. I want to mention some of the things that were brought up in public comment. One was the issue of the unlined industrial landfill that covers 10 acres right close to the school site. And that landfill was opened in 1929. On that CD that Mr. Rice gave all the board members some time ago, there's a document from the EPA Superfund branch that describes what's in that landfill. And it talks about the waste types deposited there, which do include the coal ash and construction materials. There was a power plant that the American Inca BASF plant operated there that produced 30 tons of coal ash a day. And that 30 tons a day was put in the landfill for decades. And also there's contaminants from the process of producing rayon and then nylon at the plant, and chemicals like chromium and arsenic from the coal ash. So, and as I said, the landfill's unlined, and issues were brought up about vapor from those products, or you know, the other possibilities, right, of the brownfields and how highly contaminated that site can be as a brownfield. So I think that's an important issue for the board to consider before making this decision to use that site for the school. Alternatively, some districts will make, like, right now, the consideration is that some of the schools are unbalanced. The elementary schools in the Inca district, their school populations, where you've got Pisgah Elementary that's somewhat overcrowded, and then I think it's by about 29 students. So, and then you have Hominy Valley, which is only at 77% capacity. And some districts will redraw attendance lines just within that little Inca district, not little, but within the Inca district, to redistribute that school population. Or some will make, like Hominy Valley could become a magnet school, so the Inca parents could choose if they wanted their children to go there, if it had a learning model theme, like it could be a STEM theme, it could be the expeditionary learning model that's used by Evergreen, for example, or the Franklin School of Innovation. So, I mean, there's lots of other creative ways that won't cost us $25 million of taxpayer money. And, you know, I'd hope the board that would consider this, that we don't go with the 12-year-old status quo model of the 5-6 school, but we start thinking out of the box and being proactive as far as what is really best for these students. You know, what is the real justification for a 5-6 model? Is there a justification for it? So these are just some considerations to think about. And again, you know, we have the Franklin School of Innovation public charter school opening there 1 mile away from this site, and how will that impact enrollment in the Inca district? And it's premature to make this decision without those numbers. I think we already saw something in the newspaper about possibly 300 students have already enrolled or signed up, applied to go to the school. Those are just some of my concerns, and also I guess some of the public commenters' concerns.
Just so everyone knows, we do have an environmental report that was done before we purchased the property. It's here for anyone that would like to view it. It's also been on our school website since September. It's there for anyone that would like to view it. And I'd also like to say that, you know, we have to run the school. There's a possibility that could be a school, charter school opening. There's a possibility it may not be a mile away in our school district. So, so if anyone would like to see that information, here it is. So, all right. All in favor of moving forward with the Inca Intermediate School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Thank you, Mr. Fearley. Several items, including some policies for first reading, and make sure I'm not missing anything. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Chair, I know it's unusual. Could I ask Dr. Baldwin a question if he knows? I don't have any problem. I'm just curious, Ms. Rhonda C. Smith.
You have to approve the agenda. Point of order.
I withdraw the thought.
Okay. All in favor?
Well, you can still ask.
Let me see how big this. You think I can get this in my mouth? Apologies, Mr. Chair.
We wouldn't want to prolong the meeting any longer, Pat, okay?
Apologies, Mr. Chair.
All in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we've covered the board directive policies for first reading. All right, future meetings and announcements. We have a National Board Certified Teachers Recognition on May the 8th, which is next Thursday.
It's a week from today.
Week from today, and that is here. It is here. We have, in June, we actually have 2 meetings. We have the June 5th meeting, and then we have the June 30th meeting that will come up, and we will have no July meeting. So, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Who gave us this?
Sometimes.